Okay, welcome back. And now we can also look at a couple things. Well, one other thing I wanted to look at is the symmetry. So from looking at the graph of these functions, so again, this is the sine function, right? So this is the sine function, and this is the cosine function. So you can notice that, again, we see that if you take this graph, right? And so you think of this like a pinwheel, and on a rivet right here, or a hinge, and it moves, right? So you could turn this thing and rotate it. If you rotate this 180 degrees, right? So if you rotate this thing 180 degrees, you're going to end up getting the exact same thing back, because this point is going to rotate to that point, right? And this point is going to rotate to this point, and this point is going to rotate to that point. And so what happens is when you do that, you get the exact same graph back. So this tells us that this is an odd function, okay? And so what does it mean to be an odd function again? Well, that means that if you put in a negative value, right? So if you take f of negative x, you get negative f of x. So in this case here, what does this tell us? This tells us that sine of negative theta equals negative sine theta. So that's an odd function, right? By definition. Now cosine, if you look at cosine, and I'll just erase this piece right here, but you can see that this is symmetric with respect to the y-axis, okay? And so you could fold it over. Well, what does that tell us? That tells us that this is an even function, right? So sine is odd, cosine is even. What does that mean? It means that if I put in the opposite value of theta, so cosine of negative theta, or look at it as the opposite value of theta, then it's not going to change the function. Because whether I put in pi over 2, or whether I put in negative pi over 2, I'm going to get 0. Whether I put in pi, or whether I put in negative pi, I'm going to get negative 1, and so on. So this tells us that this is true, which we showed that it was true before. Okay? So cosine, remember, cosine and secant are even functions. The rest of them are odd. Okay? And again, so this is based on the general idea of the definition of even. It means that if you take the opposite value of x, you get the original function back. Okay? And so you can see that from the graph, you can easily see that sine functions are odd, cosine functions are even. Thank you.